ESPN Sal Paolantonio, set to join us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as we continue to look at how this all happened, how did we get to this spot, and when did it really get to this point? We'll ask Sal Paolantonio in just a second. Our friend Johnny G and the Berger Realty team helping make Sal Pal possible today as he was kind enough to jump on. We got a couple days of freedom, and before Carson Wentz got traded, we had to bring you right back in, Sal Pal. Thanks for joining us again, pal. How are you?
Why do I feel like Pacino in Godfather 3? Try to get out, you pull me
back in. Here we go. Are you surprised by the timing?
I'm blaming Johnny G on this one. I'm blaming Johnny G on this one.
I mean, let's start here. And I saw your piece on SportsCenter today. Now, do you have that in the can ready to go? Is that like ready, or did you produce all that this morning?
Let me tell you something, Mike Gill. Mike Gill, Saturday night before the Super Bowl, we got all the tweets from it. Tim McManus, Chris Mortensen, Adam Schefter. The trade of Carson Wentz is imminent. First-round picks, 2 first-round picks are involved. And they reach out to me. Now, I have a lot of work to do on Super Bowl Sunday. It's the biggest morning of my year. My wife will tell me that he'll tell you that I always say to her, unless it's an absolute emergency, you can't even call me on Super Bowl Sunday. But the night before, they're like, well, we think he's going to get traded for 2 first-rounders on Super Bowl Sunday. I said, listen, it's not going to happen. But would you do us a favor and stay up till midnight and write that Carson Wentz piece that we've been asking you to write, and track it Super Bowl Sunday morning and make sure we have it in case he gets traded? And I did that. Stayed up till 1 a.m, got it all done. He doesn't get traded, and they had it ready so that I could be on vacation. But I didn't have to come back for SportsCenter, but I did have to come back for the Mike Gill Show.
Well, we appreciate that. And I, too, when the trade happened, my producer said, I'm working on a story for the website. I said, I wrote it already. I wrote it 2 weeks ago. It's ready to go. I'm just waiting for the compensation. So let's start there, Sal Pal. Let's start here. When do you think the sand began to go through the hourglass for Wentz's time in Philadelphia?
When Jalen Hurts came in and played in Green Bay. I thought right then and there the clock was ticking and the sand was beginning to evaporate in the hourglass. I think that was the start of it. And then the reports came out via Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter that Carson Wentz had a fractured relationship that couldn't be put back together again with the organization. And he was basically doing a silent coup. He was talking his way out of town from behind the scenes. And then, it was very, very difficult from that point on to repair his relationship with the organization. A, B, the locker room, and C, the fan base. Now, explain to me, because I am in a remote part of the earth right now, explain to me exactly what the compensation is and how it works, because I've heard conflicting stuff.
The compensation is this, Sal. They got a 3rd-round pick for this coming draft in 2021. They have a conditional 2nd-round pick in next year's draft that can become a 1st-round pick if he plays 75% of the snaps or he plays 70% of the snaps and the Colts make the playoffs. So he needs to play 75% of the snaps or 70 if they make the playoffs. So that would then become a 1st-round pick in next year's draft. So that's the compensation, a 3rd and the conditional 2nd that could become a 1st.
Well, listen, at first blush, that looks like a very good deal for the Colts, right? It really does. And when you go back at it a second time, it's a really, really, really good deal for the Colts, right? There's no question about that. Because, getting that pick the next year because the Eagles are not going to win but a handful of games, right, this year.
That's the thought.
So if he takes the team to the playoffs, they could have a very high pick from the Eagles in 2022.
No. The Eagles are not giving them the pick. They're giving the Eagles the pick. The only thing that the Colts are getting thing the Colts are getting is Wentz. That's it. The picks are both a third round to Philly and a conditional second to Philly, which can become a first.
Gotcha. There was a lot of conflicting reports because of what happened with the Goff trade.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Colts had to turn around and give the Eagles something for swallowing that Wentz contract, but that's not the case.
No. The Eagles are getting the 2 picks. They're getting the third rounder in this year's draft, so they will have an extra third rounder this year. And then the pick for next year is a conditional second that can become a first round pick if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps. So the Eagles get 2 picks, they get Wentz, and that's the deal. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, so the Eagles, they're going to really struggle next year. There's no question. With a new head coach, and if they obviously will settle on Jalen Hurts as the starter for the beginning of the season, even if they draft a quarterback at number 6 or somewhere in the first round, they're going to struggle because they have to spend so much time and capital and in trade and free agency on reconstructing that offensive line, and I think they're going to struggle.
Well,
and it's going to be a difficult year. It really is.
So with that compensation, though, getting a third rounder this year and then the possibility of that first round pick, is that did they get as much as you think? Now, there's a report today that the Bears never made an offer. They only essentially had one team, it looks like, in play here. So to get a third and a conditional second rounder that could be a first, did Roseman do a good enough job here?
I think his back was against the wall. I think it was only one team or maybe 2 in the mix. I never reported on your show or anywhere else the compensation that was floated out there. I never believed it would be a first-round pick. And I never believed they were close to making a deal with the Bears because from what I heard, the reaction in Chicago to Carson Wentz going there was not good, and the reaction from Carson Wentz going to Chicago was not good.
Mm-hmm. He
wanted to be reunited with Press Taylor. That is why Frank Reich hired Press Taylor as the offense coordinator. They are friends. He considers him on the same page, offensive mind, as the quarterback. Of course, you're getting yourself into a situation that you had. It's almost a duplicate situation of what you had in Philadelphia. Will he be coached up enough? Will he listen to coaching? Now, Frank Reich is a little tougher than Doug Peterson. Peterson is not as tough when it comes to coaching up players. But with Press Taylor as the buffer, I wonder if it will work.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The Colts made the playoffs this year, right? They did.
Yeah, and they were very close to beat. They were
major step back.
They were very close to beating Buffalo in that game. And then, of course, Rivers retires on them. So this is a nearly Super Bowl roster that had no quarterback.
Super Bowl roster with no quarterback.
Right, exactly.
It sounds like they were trying to duplicate with Tampa Bay, right? Obviously, with Brady and Tampa Bay. But, Carson Wentz is not Tom Brady. He's just not.
No. I want to get your take on how much do the injuries of Wentz's career lead to this?
I think a lot. I think the last one, the concussion, was definitely impactful. The fact that, they just didn't have an offensive line all year long certainly preyed on him. It's pretty clear that, he just lost his confidence, lost his mojo, and was trying to do too much with too little. There's some of that. Mix it all together, and, the bottom line is everyone in every walk of life needs a change of venue, needs a change of scenery. And Carson Wentz really should thank the Eagles for taking it on the chin here, right? They made him the highest paid player in team history. And he decided he wanted out. He talked his way out. The Eagles got less than fair value for a franchise quarterback. And now he's on another team with a coach he handpicked, with a roster that's much better than the one he left.
Yeah.
He should feel lucky. He really should.
I want to get your take on this, too, because this has happened before here. They traded Donovan McNabb. They've had quarterbacks come and go. Why is what happened with Carson Wentz different from maybe some of these situations in the past? You know, Randall taking over for Jaws, coming in on third down, that whole situation. You had Jeff Garcia here. He wanted to come back. McNabb didn't want him to come back. You've had Cobb take over. Vic wins the job. Why is this different from all these other quarterback controversies we've had in this town?
Wentz is the franchise quarterback who just signed an extension in June of 2019. And here we are, 18 months later, went from the highest paid player in team history to shipped out of town for a bag of donuts at age 27. I mean, it's worse than anything. It's worse than the Wilt Chamberlain trade. It's worse than Charles Barkley, Scott Rowland, go down the list, Cliff Lee. This is the worst situation of all time for any pro sports franchise in Philadelphia history.
Well, that's pretty powerful because there's been a lot of bad trades that ended up happening here. But, look, when you get a franchise quarterback, you hold on to him for dear life. And to have to do a complete 180 and move on from him, it is one of the most astounding stories that I can think of since I've been doing this, is that you traded the franchise quarterback and essentially got a third-round pick this year and a second-round pick for next year that could be a first. But all people are going to read is you got a third-round pick and a possible first-round, like that potential of the first-round pick doesn't even matter to most people. It's you traded the franchise quarterback away. And, you just said it. This could be, I don't know, do you think this is the beginning of a long couple of years?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, when Donovan was traded, Donovan had already taken the team to the Super Bowl. So I don't really think that you can, and he had gone and was healthy and had gone to 5 championship games with Andy Reid. So I don't think you can compare the two. Now, obviously, he flamed out rather quickly in Washington. Charles Barkley was traded. Charles never won a championship, but he went on to a Hall of Fame basketball career beyond the Sixers, for sure. He played many, many successful years in the NBA afterwards. We all know what happened with Wilt, and that was I don't think you can really compare the two. We're talking about, again, a Hall of Fame player. Right now, we're talking about a player who was last in the league in every major category, who at the end had a fractured relationship with the team and the coach who made him the franchise quarterback and drafted him and put all kinds of draft capital and money and simply tried to make him as happy as he possibly could, and it didn't work out.
Right.
And I think a lot of the blame has to go to Carson Wentz. I really do. I don't want to absolve Howie Roseman or Doug Peterson or, the people around Carson. But really, notwithstanding the injuries that he suffered, and some of them could be laid at the feet of Carson Wentz himself. He did not have to run into the end zone in L.A. That was a first and goal situation. He could have thrown it away and lived for 2 more downs. That was a late and dirty hit by Jadeveon Clowney in that playoff game. I thought it should have been a penalty. I thought it was illegal. The refs and the NFL did not, but hey, they disagreed. But the bottom line is he was often injured. He was unproductive when they needed him to be. Great. He had a hand in a Super Bowl season. And I guess you could look at it this way if you want to, Mike. They traded up in the first round for Carson Wentz, gave up those draft picks, got 3/4 of an MVP season that put them on the doorstep of a Super Bowl title, and they won it. And that's what they got from Carson Wentz.
Yep, it's well put there by Sal, and we kind of talked about that earlier. He did get you that number 1 seed in that playoff. You probably don't win the Super Bowl unless you get home field advantage, and then, of course, he gets hurt. So he did get a Super Bowl in his 5 years. He was not a big part of it in the playoff run. Let me ask you this. You're a numbers guy. You like to hear the odds. Do you think the Colts' odds have changed getting Wentz? Because I got the updated odds in front of me.
Oh, boy. I think they changed, and I think they went down.
They started the day at 25-1, and they are still 25-1. Vegas doesn't think Wentz moves the needle too much for them. There you go.
Well, what does that tell you? That tells you that nobody's betting it. Nobody's betting it, right? Nobody's putting money on it either way.
That's right. So I don't know. It's going to be an amazing story to watch this year. How does Wentz perform in another uniform? And then, of course, we'll always wonder what if he stayed here. But you know, and I know, Sal, they had to have a divorce here. They just had to move on. They couldn't keep him.
Oh yeah, but you know, Carson Wentz, hey, he's gone to a team where he likes to coach. He's got an offensive line that can protect him, one of the best in the NFL. He's got a coach that believes in running the football. He's got a team that went to the playoffs. Hey, Mike Gill, let's see what he does with it. He's been handed the money. He's been handed the keys to the kingdom. Everything is around him to succeed. Guess what? There's no one else to blame, Mike Gill.
Not this time.
No one else to blame.
Last one for you, Sal. Will Jalen Hurts be the starter or other?
Jalen Hurts will be the starter.
All right, we shall see. Pick 6 in the draft is fast approaching. Free agency, a lot going on. Sal Paolantonio, Johnny G, and the Burger Real Estate team, thanks to them and Sal for jumping on today here to give us a little insight on this deal. Good piece today on SportsCenter. Check that out for everybody out there. Why this happened, how it got to this point, and so much more. Carson Wentz traded to the Colts, 3rd-round pick this year, a 2nd-round pick next year that can turn into a 1st-round pick. Sal Paolantonio. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for clearing that up for me, Mike Gill.
I do my best. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.